That quote that you saw right there is from the movie Demolition Man. But it rings true with what's going on today. My wife and I had a spirited argument regarding what's happening in our government today. I'll put this one out here. She's oblivious. She doesn't feel that we are occupied by globalist forces from within. I am a military veteran. America is occupied by globalist forces. I've been sworn to defend the United States Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The problem is, we have more domestic enemies that are hiding in the shadows than patriots. Those who come out of the shadows have a lot of deception, have a lot of greed, and have a lot of momentum. It's going to be on both sides. Trump's going to be in the crosshairs, and people who've lost the Democratic election are in the crosshairs. Some people say that we're not facing a civil war. I beg to differ. We've had a civil war roughly nearly 200 years ago, and it was to stop slavery. I am a black male, by the way. I've been affected by people who hated me for going through college, and instead of taking up something of being gender studies, humanities, or anything that is not related to the business sector. Now, I understand one thing, politics is business. So is business itself. I ended up losing jobs because some people didn't like my way of use. I tried keeping silent about it. But one thing about silence, it's not always golden. There are people who backed a candidate, if she really wanted to win, would have went towards every state like every politician should, campaigned, showed up, brought her case. Now, I have three signs of an example of people who are failures. In that, this will be everything in life, but everything could be applied to it. Even myself, because I used to be these three signs, so I got an enlightenment. And I'm putting it here, 3 signs of a failure at everything in life. Take heed to these, including those of you who are triggered or who are SJWs. The first one, and you do it all the time, you blame all of your problems and issues on others. My wife has said that SJWs have a cause. They maybe have a cause, but they blame their problems. They blame it on white supremacy. They blame it on the alt-right. They blame it on everything. Stop, number 1. You'll get you somewhere. Number 2. It goes in with number 1, you'll complain about everything. They complain about the transgender bathrooms. Just because you have a transgender issue, you may have been born psychologically different than your gender. There's a song out, and the first thing they say is blame God. And if you're an atheist, you know what? No one blame but yourself. That's my opinion. You don't like it? Hey, freedom of speech. Quit being triggered. That's another complaint. Number 3, you're becoming unappreciative, ungrateful, and you feel like you're an entitlist. You feel like you're entitled to everything. For there's some who have rich parents that they're born with a spoon in their mouth, and they want more. Now, if you remember the speech, greed, corruption, and I mean, some people are oblivious to this, but corruption comes in many, many forms, and it is hidden to the naked eye. I grew up with a lot of this stuff because, for starters, like I said, I'm a black male. I grew up in North Philadelphia, one of the worst sections of cities, of the major U.S. cities, that has crime where it's prevalent. North Philadelphia tries to act like Chicago. Chicago had roughly 700 plus murders last year. They have gun restrictions, the likes of which I would not even put my worst enemy on. We've had corruption with certain people where they've manipulated the laws to their liking, and people are naive to it. They'll back their candidate like they were an angel. Excuse me, nobody is God, nobody is an angel. I'm not even an angel, excuse me. I ended up working for what I got, my college degree. I don't put my face out there because I learned one thing from my military training, and that is to keep a low profile. It's hard to do when you're online and you're speaking, because I spoke out on issues, and some people who are triggered trolls, SJWs, my wife says don't feed the trolls. They said, and they considered me a troll. They saw to it that they wanted me to be triggered, wanted me to react. When I refused, they got triggered even further. Now, there's one thing about a person who's determined will do anything that they want, including try to document somebody and threaten them and their family. There are people who are actually good, honest, working citizens who probably don't follow their paradigm, where they attack them. Now, on number 3, where they were like being unappreciative, they'll try to cheat somebody out by claiming victimhood status. To me, that's a cop-out. You don't like what somebody else getting something like that and you're unhappy, you want them to suffer. Like some people who doggone spoke out against something, their response, they document them. They doggone try to do something to get them fired. Because they spoke out. They didn't like what was going on. Some people say be silent, it'll keep you alive. You know what? Some people can't be silent on some things because it affects them. Some people want things their way, and when some people don't like it, they don't want to accept that. Those people speaking out, and then they attack them. I think that's wrong. In fact, I know that's wrong. I defended this country from 1986 to 1992. I almost fell into that rut of entitlement. 25 years later, I'm appreciative of my time in service. I'm appreciative of everybody that I served with that protected my ass and me in return. It's called camaraderie. It's called never forgetting what you've learned, or never forget. Me, in my case, now I'm doing the one thing, forgetting where I came from, because I will not return to an area where they have everybody. And I use this word loosely. I'm not going to try to generalize everybody when I say this. I should say most, who have a narrative that they feel entitled to free stuff. Quit protesting and using freedoms just to get free stuff. Work your asses off and get a job. Do things the right way. Quit giving a $19 trillion deficit that we can't overcome, and then eventually China will overrun us and we owe a debt to them. They will take this country and claim it as a communist regime, and then everyone's going to be asking us, where did we go wrong? I'll tell you where we went wrong. We push big government, where it is you expect the government to do everything. We don't need government to do everything. We need to doggone work for ourselves. Government is there to effect protections. But your version of having them effect protections is making them take care of us. Excuse me. That's putting pressure, too much pressure, on a republic. We are a republic, not a democracy. That's the way we were funded. That's the way we should be. When Trump got elected, he said, of the people, by the people, for the people. Some people do not believe that. They believe that they should let what happens in Russia, like what they happen to them, media, the state, take over everything. Then eventually you lose your freedoms. And then, here's one thing. You lose your guns, First and Second Amendment right, your right to speak. You lose all that stuff. Mark my words, it's hard to get it back. And I will say this, the souls of those who gave their lives to make sure you have that right to free speech, to speak the way you want, and now the way you want to do it, you all don't want free speech, you want safe spaces. Right now, those right to safe spaces will be gone if Trump is impeached and somebody else who follows Hillary Clinton's mindset, or is worse than that, comes into play. And I said worse. People think that Hillary Rodham Clinton is the God. Excuse me, no woman is God. No man is God. That's why I stop and talking with black females. Their arrogance is already their downfall. There are no fathers in homes in many of these places in the black community. And you said that there are fathers. Now they're dealing with drugs, being criminals, killing people, and it's not for self-defense. I won't even use stories about it. My story was, I had one woman that actually said she was down. She ended up breaking my mother's heart. It's taking family fortune. And I found this out from family members. And there were some women who doggone misled me. I got tired of that. I will say this. I'm 49 years old. My 3-year moratorium I did when I was like 47. My son was roughly around a good 1 or 2 years old. I'm going to be a father to him. A few of my children I had prior to that, I dropped the ball. Because I let the women in my life run me, which is a no-no. I hate some of that's called feminism. My wife is in a way a feminist, a hardcore liberal, but I went the middle of the road because of two things. Look, I will take some of your points, but I'm not going to end up having you run over me regarding them. She agreed with that. But over time, especially with this election year, her clause came out. No marriage, I want to say it is perfect. No marriage will be like Charles and Diana. I told my wife I'm not Prince Charles. I'm a black man. And just because of the lust of a black man and she's a white female, she should look beyond that. She did. I married her. She doesn't believe in divorce. But that's being severely tested by people like this. Not Infowars.com. The word globalist forces. They don't want patriarchy. I grew up without a father. I vowed that I was going to be a father to my kids. And certain people who are down with globalist mentality destroyed my way of thinking. Their paradigm, one, my children, the three that I had prior to my current son, my number 4, are being brainwashed to hate me, which really is frustrating. I mean, it is being frustrating. I follow Infowars.com because they spoke the truth on certain things. And some people said that they lied. Now, Infowars.com was started over 20 years ago by Alex Jones. He hated stuff that was happening down in Austin, Texas. And Austin is a liberal city. I lived in Austin. I should know. Some of the places down there that have people who are following liberal stuff are being attacked by fascist groups who are known as Antifa, who are pretty much, And when I say I hate people who are anarchists or anarchists who are anarchists, this is the reason why I hate them. And here's where it all starts. Major colleges like the University of Texas have been brainwashed. Toxic psychiatry, toxic psychology. People who had went through the 60s and part of the 70s, who spoke out against the Vietnam War, were tenured on. Here's where it really ticked me. Their mentality and hatred of the government grew to where they implemented textbooks, teachings, and a whole lot of programming to sway our current generation, the people who grew up during the millennial generation, and maybe before that, into a anti-American state. Our media has been corrupted by these people who have been indoctrinated by this. And some people fail to realize this. They are that naive, okay? I'm serious. They are. CNN, once I thought was a bastion of legal news and everything, of news, is not. Remember, people who are communist-minded got into government, and they played along. But the moment Bill Clinton got into play, and some of these people put their implementations in, Bill Clinton, not their ad, went along with it. The Democratic Party, what I once thought was the party of the people, has been an evil anti-American party that was triggered from the KKK, of which they have people who are known, and these are people I even served with too. They've been known to use stuff they train in the military, psychological warfare, stuff in the government with government coups. They slowly and surely implemented a poison. Now, what I said with that video quote from Demolition Man, Dennis Leary's character, Edgar Friendly, he said, "I like to think. I like freedom of speech." Excuse me, I went and defended freedom of speech. I defend what people would say, but I won't defend them if they're going to threaten our current president. I was raised to the point where whoever's elected, you back them. But you have to make sure you back them and they honor the Constitution. Some people say Obama did. I never voted for Obama. Some things in his speech I did not like. Unfortunately, he won. Now, people said you should back him. You know what? All the stuff he did, there are some things he did that will say, okay, he kept with it. But there's some that he didn't do. And then at the end of his term, he pretty much turned socialist and commie. My wife and I argued about this. I initially did a taping of this. I was a little loud. I'm keeping it down because if I talk any more about it, she will come down, take away my internet, take away my phone. I'm using a digital camera. She's already gotten a phone where she's shut it down because it's her account. I mean, I've lost my phone from a divorce. I've lost a lot of things. I'm 3 times married. I'm tired of everybody saying that Trump is Hitler. Right now, you guys don't want him in? And my wife said this too. Bring concrete proof. And not from CNN, not from NBC, not from Huffington Post, not from Washington Post, not from the New York Times. You look from other sources. Remember, I went through school, and the classes I took, we had some professors, thank God, they told me to take online courses because they couldn't do nothing about it with online courses. But if I went to schools, I went to online because I had family. I had a kid to raise. Online, this degree that I will show you in a moment is a legitimate degree. It's from a legitimate school. That's one reason right there. I don't go to the University of Phoenix where all these black women, all these people who are going, well, it might look like it's a legitimate school, but if you're taking it for gender studies, do not be surprised if the employers laugh, rip up your application in your face, and throw it back at you because they will not take gender studies for an engineering course. If you went for history, you might get something, but not much. But if it's gender studies, you're going to be like what I am, file for unemployment until it runs out. And then you're going to be like Antifa. They're in lazy insanity in the rub. You're being taught to take these studies because it's a wave of the future. I'm here to tell you, it's not. But you listen to them, you listen to their freeze-dried bullshit. Remember, I lived in Austin. Some people who lived down there said that phrase, and hey, I adopt that phrase. You got brainwashed by all these colleges, the major ones like University of Texas, Harvard, and everybody else. And now they make you adopt safe spaces. This might be blocked, but I do have the original, and I'll have a way of sharing it on other platforms. I've already took off my Twitter account and my Facebook because my family, those who actually are hardcore liberals beyond my wife, have already shunned me and they said that they would respect me for being family. One thing I learned about with family, blood's supposed to be thicker than water. No, it's thinning out quickly. And I'm being the one being thinned out. There's some that might respect me. There's some females in my family that respect me for my decisions. Will they respect me now that I'm married to a Caucasian female? There's some that are saying, no, you're going against what your mom said. My mom, and they didn't know this, made me promise. Originally, it was a promise to marry somebody that would treat me right, and then I'd be doing the same to them. Unfortunately, and I use the word unfortunately, the one woman that no one knew in my family that corrupted me, and I'm going to say in essence was one of the triggers that turned me away from African American women. I didn't say black women, I said African American women. Is the fact that they were too arrogant. Over time, they've corrupted, poisoned, and destroyed the black youth of our ghettos. Those who were honorable and good, they drove out of the ghettos. The thugs who are terrorizing the neighborhoods, who are sleeping with many of these women, of which may have contracted diseases in prison, have pretty much put a plague on it. Now I'm going to tell y'all, and I'm going to try not using my picture, but I didn't go through Harvard. I didn't go to Temple. I didn't go to all these major schools. This is my degree from Upper Iowa University. I went to school at Western Wisconsin Technical College in the city of La Crosse. But back then, I went through, it was my first marriage. I went to do everything for computers because that was me, a nerd. I'm a 49-year-old nerd. One who will eventually be doing and being successful. I'm not going to dare ask what will be your excuse. I have a reason to live for now. I've worked and pushed my hardest. And I don't care if you say if it's with student loans, there's a way I can get to pay them off. I have the means to. I have a degree that means something. And I worked my ass off for it. Everyone else followed along, did some stupid stuff, took the wrong degrees. Now with the person in office that we have, you don't get hired for the degree because you're not fitting the narrative, you're not fitting what they require. Myself will be included on some things because I'm a business degree and won't work with engineering. I know that. I'm not dumb. But right now, a reckoning's coming. We're going to be occupied by forces underneath the name of a person named George Soros, who truthfully funded Black Lives Matter and is now starting to fund other groups dedicated to overthrowing America. And mark my words, if America's overthrown, I pray to God it isn't, that Constitution that I guarded, that I still have an oath to, if it falls into their hands, they will destroy it and make a public mockery of it. We will lose everything we have. We will lose our freedoms. And the next thing you know, global implosion. Because some people decided to capitulate and be silent. I'm sorry, silent may keep me alive, but look, there'll be a point where living would not mean anything. I mean it. Some people overseas who are in these countries like Sweden, Germany, France, have let in the wrong people. I argue with my wife about this. She thinks that there's nothing wrong in these countries. We have terrorist groups from ISIS who have infiltrated, who are masters at this. Remember, I told you, deception and greed. If they're capable of doing it, they will do it. My wife is naive to this. And I told her, when something happens where they get Trump out and he's the right person for the job right now, he's the president. And if he's doing things right, and some things take time, and if you do something, get him out, and the wrong people come in and mess everything up, I told her she better be able to live up to it and say that she was wrong. But by then, it'll be too late. Because somebody will have believed all the stuff that they're hearing in their ears of Trump being Hitler without the proof. They keep on the protesting. I mean, he's been president for no more than a month, and you're already threatening overthrowing, assassination, all this stuff. Stuff that never has been thought of or even bringing into the minds of anybody 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, you don't even listen to reason. You won't even listen to the reports. When we ask you something, you all shut up. You all try to enforce us to be silent, and you don't want to talk to us. Excuse me. Quit the freeze-dried bullshit. You want to debate it, you debate it, and you bring the proof to the fight. My wife said that too. Now, she's been argued and confronted by somebody. I mean, they got on her because she's married to a black man, and they ended up trying to slam her. And I told her about this. She's still naive. And I told her, look, these guys do not care if you're a liberal married to me. They will try their best to clown you. She she ended up saying, okay, I'll be centrist view on it. It's like, centrist view nothing. I'm afraid you may have to end up doing like what I did. I was completely far left. And I saw what was happening when I went back to school. One of my friends was a former professor before he retired. Thank God he retired. He has a pension. They would try to do something to try to get him fired. It's like, get me fired for what? I retired. You can't say much about me. I have my money. And then pretty much they had no choice but to shut up. And that was a couple years before all this stuff happened. But colleges have now been taken over and are now reprogramming centers, quote unquote. They're not teaching you what you want to go to school for. They're going to make you take gender studies. They're going to make it so like gender studies is the norm. You don't believe me? Look what happens over in the University of Texas. Look at what happens in Harvard. Look what happens in Yale. Look what happens in all these colleges. All of our colleges now have turned into communist programming centers is the way I'm looking at it. Communist News Network. NBC. Nothing but crap. Crap broadcasting system. They call themselves real news. I don't believe it. The only way you can be real news, speak on both sides of the issue like Fox News did before Megyn Kelly tried her best to force him to go left wing. They almost did. If Trump hadn't been elected, they would have been left wing and all conservatives would have been locked up. And anybody else who would have been like, wanted to speak out against the government would be just like what they're doing in China. And keep in mind, China is now ruling the web. So this might get blocked, but it's on my YouTube channel. And I could care less about liking, subscribing, or whatnot. There are people who may have subscribed. It's up to you if you want to like, subscribe, share. But this is a Marine, a black Marine, a veteran, a college graduate, who's telling you all, I won't say the phrase, wake up to the truth. I use words woke, you get triggered. I use the phrase of, against Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, you get triggered. Human lives matter. You get triggered from that, you're not human. And I mean it. You get triggered by the words human lives matter, then you're no better than these globalist forces that are ruining our way of life. You lose your right to want to have free spaces, safe spaces, your right to have transgender bathrooms. Then who's going to be to blame? Remember those 3 things of failure at life. You know what? I'm done with this. You all are sowing your own seeds of destruction. And one thing I remembered, be careful what you wish for, because you're going to get it.